I turned on my Zoom this morning, thankfully early, because of the little disasters I've been having. Good morning there, John Shaw. And this time it said that I had to do a new password because my password had been compromised. So you just never know what's going to happen when you go start Zoom. Yesterday I was trying to do something on my computer and I had to shut it down. And then when I turned it back on again, it started updating. So anyway, it's always a good idea to go ahead and try to turn on your computer early and even turn on Zoom early and make sure it's not going to do something weird. And because at some point in this year, it will do something weird. That's just the way it is. Okay?
Okay. Technology.
Okay. Huh?
Technology.
Yes, yes. Can't live with it. Can't live without it. So technology is great when it works. So I see that everybody got their work uploaded already before class. Okay, raise your right hand. Everybody raise your right hand. Reach around. Pat yourself on the back.
Oh, I thought you were going to get us to strangle ourselves. That's a lot better.
No, I'm very proud of you. And I did quickly look over the PDFs. I haven't had a chance to look at the final drafts yet, but I will. So let me just tell you some things that I noticed. Let's see, I've got a bunch of chats here from, okay, this is from Heather. Okay, Heather. All right. Yes, she can watch it. And so let me tell you all, Heather, the thing that's different about this class from Abby's class is that all of their work is uploaded. So some of these things that I say are not going to be applicable to the local people because the local people will turn in all their work in a folder. Okay. So anybody have any trouble with the Zoom? I mean, with the uploading and all that? Did everybody figure out how to do the cam scanner and all? It looks like everybody did. That's really good. I mean, this is all so aggravating if you're not used to doing that. And so things kind of take a long time here at the beginning of the year. And that's one reason that we start out with things not so hard, because there's already a lot of other things that have to be learned just besides the writing. But when you get to wherever you end up going, whether you go to a high school or you go to a college or even a job, there's just going to be this kind of stuff. So it's a great thing to already be comfortable with all of this kind of thing. So I used to not want to be bothered with all this stuff because I said, this isn't writing. I just want to teach writing. I don't want to be bothered with things like MLA and scanning things and making PDFs. But you know what? When my first batch of students went off to school, they hadn't been taught MLA and they were kind of ticked off at me. One of them was my daughter because I didn't want to be bothered with that stuff. When they went off to college, I found out, oh, I really do have to worry about it. So even though a lot of this may be seeming to you to making a mountain out of a molehill, the most important thing is to learn how to follow directions, because all professors and teachers are a little bit different. And if you can learn to figure out what the teacher or professor wants and give it to them, whether it's the way you learned it or not, guess what this will do for you personally? So don't even worry about how much it helps the professor. Guess what it will do for you? Anybody got an idea?
Gives more knowledge.
Yes, it will make you smarter, but I mean, some of these things don't really matter. Like, I mean, who cares about what size font you have to use?
Oh my goodness, a teacher that actually gets it.
Right. But the fact of the matter is that all through life, you're going to be having to do things that are not done for your benefit. They're done for somebody else's benefit. Okay. And you just need to learn to do it and get it done, unless it's illegal or immoral. Okay. Because What you want to be is you want to be the student who the teacher grades your paper first.
Goodness.
You want to be the student that the teacher looks for your paper in the big pile and grades yours first. You know why? Because when teachers grade yours first, they're pretty hopeful and they're kind of in a good mood and they're refreshed, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be the last one when they're in a bad mood and all that, right? So,
See, the problem is I just crack jokes, so I'm usually the last one.
no, you can't be the last one. Okay, so everybody in here needs to try to be the first one, okay? Because, okay, so like Cross, your brother, where are you, Cross? People keep moving around on this screen. That's one thing about Zoom, the boxes dance around. His brother followed directions, and Luke, and I looked for Luke's paper. I had a number of students in that class that I looked for their papers. I didn't always grade the first paper, the same paper first, but I had students who I knew the paper was going to be good, and I wanted to start out with one that I knew was going to be good because that kept me encouraged, right?
Mhm.
So I had about half the class that I would just sort of rotate and do theirs first, right? What you don't want to be is the one that the professor's expecting that you didn't follow directions and stuff, and so they save yours for last. That's what you don't want to be. So there's a little bit of life skill there, life wisdom that you can take with you wherever you go. All right, so what I did notice, let's talk about what I did notice on the, where is my mouse? Oh, there it is. What I noticed on the papers, just on the names of the files, I noticed that some people didn't name their files exactly like I said to. And I'm not going to count off on it at this time because this is very new for everybody, okay? And so I don't want anybody getting all worried if your file wasn't named correctly, but I want to tell you that all professors and all teachers have reasons that they do things. They don't just do it to aggravate the stew out of their students. Also, sometimes it seems like that, right?
Yeah.
But the reason I do it this way is because I open up a whole bunch of PDFs all at one time. And if your PDF isn't named correctly, it just takes me longer. And
You
since
have to go searching for it.
yeah, or I'm like, whose is this? I don't know, because they didn't put their name on the file. Okay. There were several of them like that this time. So, and when I say name, I mean first name and last name. Okay. I know in homeschool, lots of times that's not really necessary, but it is necessary in the rest of the world. So you've got to get used to first name and last name. So this is how you name your PDF file. Okay. It'll be whatever the assignment number is, it'll be the number sign and the assignment number. So this time, of course, what was the number for it?
1.
Number 1, okay? And then it will be your first name and your last name.
I go by first and middle.
Not just John.
Is that okay?
Not just John Shaw.
Well, no, I go by my first and middle. Is that okay?
No, it's not. No, it's not, because I want you to get used to following directions.
Okay. So
I'm not going to take off points this time. Okay? I'm not. Okay?
Okay. That's why I wanted to make sure.
Okay. And then for the PDF, it's keyword outline rough. That's all. I don't want anybody putting anything extra. I want it exactly like this. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay. On your final draft, I want it named exactly like this. The number sign, the assignment number, first name, last name, and final. I don't want final draft. Up here, I don't want rough draft, because what happens when you start putting all kinds of extra stuff in it, I like things in alphabetical order. And when you start putting extra stuff in it, it gets my things out of order. Okay.
Okay.
And it just makes it take longer. And since one of my goals in life is to get done with grading as fast as possible, that's one of my life goals. No kidding. If you do things that are outside the norm of what I've asked you to do, it just makes it take longer. And then that makes me unhappy.
Okay.
And you don't want me to be unhappy. Okay. Yes, Mrs. Kimbrell, they cried. All right. And yeah, do use your first and last name. You know, when you're in kindergarten and first grade, usually you just put your first name, but we're way past that here. Okay. Another thing that I saw on at least one paper, maybe more, but I haven't had a chance to really. I am going to actually look very carefully at the keyword outlines, and I always do. I noticed that even though most of the paragraphs had a lot of sentences, like 8 to 10 sentences, somebody only did like 5 points on their outline. Okay. How many points should be on your outline at this time? This is going to change later, but how many at this time, how many points should there be on your outline?
3.
9.
How do you know what number of points to put on your outlines?
It's like the same number of sentences that are in the paragraph.
Exactly. So if there's 8 sentences in the paragraph, then you need
8 sentences.
8 points on the outline. If there's 10 sentences, then you need
10.
10 points on the outline. Okay. Great.
Okay, good.
So we are going to do it again this week, and it'll be pretty much the same kind of keyword outlining that we did last time, but we're going to learn some other things. So don't go, oh, she must think we're babies, because I don't.
I'd prefer it if we just did the same thing again, but hey, that's just me.
Okay, well, you are going to do the same thing again with different paragraphs, but you're also going to do some new things along with it. So, okay. So this assignment that we did this last time is just kind of the warm up. All right. Right. Now, I did notice when I was quickly looking through the PDF that I saw lots of editor's marks, and that's good. I don't know if everybody had editor's marks, but let me tell you, if I hadn't made this clear before, you must have editor's marks on your paper. Okay. I had one girl last year who continually turned in papers that had not been edited, and her mother finally told me that she hadn't been giving them to her, so she hadn't been editing, and I could tell. All right. So I want to see editor's marks, and I want you to make sure that you turn your papers in to your mom when it says to, or your dad, or whoever's doing your editing. You turn them in so that they can be edited in time. And please don't have mercy on your editor. Do not be taking papers to your editor at 11 o'clock at night.
Mhm.
Because at 11 o'clock at night, when my kids were in school, I just wanted to sit down on the floor and cry at 11 o'clock at night. Okay. I definitely didn't want to be grading papers. Okay. So, and I didn't. And boy, I would get so mad too. All right. Don't do that to your editor. How did it go? Oh, I want to ask this question because this is new for this year. How did it go with everybody's plan to do their writing at a certain time every day? Was that
Very
doable
well.
for everybody?
Horrible.
Yes.
John Shaw, why was that horrible?
Well, because I did it just at different times every single day, and it's like that wasn't the point. You're supposed to do it at the same time every single day, so I failed miserably.
Okay, I can't remember what everybody's time was. What was your time of day that you had chosen?
I think it was supposed to go along with I'm homeschooled, so it was supposed to go along with that schedule. But unfortunately, there's just been so much stuff going on, it hasn't really worked.
Okay. Do you need to pick a time earlier in the day, maybe? I don't know. I can't remember what your time was.
I don't remember either. I know I have a schedule some downstairs, but besides that, I don't really remember.
So did your writing still happen every day?
Yeah, my writing still happened.
Yes. Okay.
I turned all of it in. But one question.
Yeah, but you managed to get it done every day, even though you didn't always get it done at the time you had planned to get it done. Is that right?
I've started driver's education, so I've had to drive. So that was unplanned, and it's messed up my schedule.
Okay, well, here's the thing, and I've talked to y'all about habits before, okay? Things happen, right? And they happened a lot to me last year, all kinds of things that were not expected. And that's why I was desperate this summer to figure out a way to try to make sure that the things that needed to happen happened and not just the unexpected things. So we're going. I've been trying my plan. I tried it out this morning. Can I get up and get my breakfast eaten and go walking and do all the other things that I need to do before class starts? And guess what?
It happened.
I did. But if you don't have a plan to start with, you can pretty much be sure it's not going to happen, right?
My plan was wake up 5 minutes before class and get into class, and it's been working pretty well for me.
Okay, now Katie, I think Katie has the most daunting schedule of all. Katie, tell us what your time of day is for doing writing.
5:30,
To
6:30, and then the baby comes downstairs, and
because Katie's nannying this year. Okay. So Katie wants to get up and get her writing done before she has to worry about taking care of the baby, because babies really do things and you can't plan on the things, right?
Yes. Well, salute to you. Good luck, and
I
rest
see
in
that
peace.
I see that you did get your work turned in, Katie. So I am very proud of when your mom told me she's going to do her work at 5:30 in the morning. I was like, oh.
yeah,
Oh.
I got COVID this week. I had
Oh.
COVID, so that brought back a lot. And then Kingston got sick, so
The baby.
that was horrible. Yeah, the baby.
And of course now Abby is sick and she can't go to her regular class this week. I mean, so things are gonna happen. So sometimes you may have to adjust. Okay. If your time was scheduled very late in the day, I can't remember if there are people in this class. I know one of my kids in one of my local classes scheduled their writing from 7 to 8 p.m. That is not a good time to try to do writing. Okay. But I can't remember what everybody's time was. I need to go back and look at that. If you find out that you really can't think very well with your writing when you get to it, you may need to pick an earlier time in the day. Katie, your brain ought to be really fresh at 5:30 in the morning, I would think.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any little comments to make or tell us a little bit about how it worked with your writing schedule this week?
I was thinking, now hear me out here before I say anything. Hear me out, everyone. Hear me out.
Okay.
So before you go to bed, your brain just fires off. That's how it works, because when you try and go to bed, that's just how it works. So I was thinking, what if I put my time right before I go to bed?
You know what? If you and your mom think that's a good thing to do, then, but I would not advise.
Not in the slightest.
Okay. But let me tell you this though. The reason you want to do your writing every day is there's something magic that happens in the brain overnight. And I even have an article on my website somewhere about this. When you've worked hard on something during the day, at night, your brain sort of starts working on that and integrating it. So you may have experienced this before. If you play an instrument like the piano or something like that, is anybody in here playing the piano? And you've worked really hard on a little section and it's very difficult for you, but you really worked hard on it, and then really worked hard on it. I don't mean just kind of like, like I used to do when I took piano. I'm talking about the kind of piano practice that my children's piano teacher made them do, where they had to play like little sections that were hard, like 10 times in a row perfectly, as slow as they needed to, but it had to be 10 times in a row perfectly, or they had to start over. Okay. So, and it would be so hard, and, there'd be lots of screaming and tears and stuff like that. We had a really noisy house.
What kind of piano teacher did you have?
Well, it really wasn't the piano teacher's fault. It was really probably my fault. But anyway,
What were you doing?
if I hear that again, I'm going to come sit with you. Like, no. Okay. But then the next day, you sit down. I saw Catalina raise your hand. Have you had this experience, Catalina? You go back the next day after you've worked really hard on a particular piece, a little section. And what happens sometimes the next day? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, I think your sound is out for some reason. I don't know why.
Can you?
Oh, there you go. What happens when you go back to play?
You can play it really well.
Yeah, lots of times the next day it's like something is magic has happened. It was like this terrible thing that you were trying so hard to do. And that's because your brain keeps working on things. It keeps integrating all this new knowledge that you have during the night. So that's why it's so important to write every day and not have one giant practice section for your writing. Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to reading your papers, and we will try to make some time to read in our class and during class. But right now, what I want to do before we do get too far gone is to talk about the 2 new things that we're going to be doing on our writing this week. So turn to page 200 for me, and let's look at these. Look at this composition checklist. Now, I have to put this online. I haven't changed the composition checklist to include the new things yet online. So I've got to do this. I'm going to try to do it when class is over
Wait,
today.
I'm sorry, what page again?
Page 200.
Oh, good.
On the checklist now this year, I have tried to mark the things that are new, because if I do add things every time, but sometimes people forget about the things and it's just hard to find them on the checklist. So you'll see where it says new, new, new. Does everybody see that on page 200?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're going to be talking about dress ups. I can't remember who in here has done IEW before, and you know what I'm talking about when I say dress ups. Okay. All right. So we're going to be learning the first of 6 dress ups. We're going to be learning the first 3. And then we're also going to be learning something called a topic clincher. And we're going to talk here about banned words in a minute. Okay. So well, let's just go ahead and talk about them right now. There's some things that you just shouldn't do in writing because they're boring or they're just wrong. Okay. And so those things are what we call banned. That means you can't do them. So let's just look here at our little banned. We've got banned verbs, and we'll talk about banned verbs in a minute when we talk about strong verbs. Banned verbs are verbs that are just weak, and they can be used in place of 100 different really good words. Okay. So they really don't mean anything because everybody can have them. Right. And in writing, we want to go for things that say exactly what we mean. Okay. Also, pronouns. When you are doing formal writing, which is what we are doing because we're going to be starting to work on reports. When you're doing formal writing, you never talk about yourself. Okay. You don't refer to yourself such as I, me, my. You also don't refer to yourself as part of a group. So don't try that one either. We, our main character, blah, 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 blah. No, he didn't. It's not our main character. It's the main character. Okay. It's not our planet. What would it be instead?
The planet.
The planet. Okay. Exactly. Another word you'll see here in bold black next to banned pronouns. This is the terrible, awful, never used word except for in stories. You. Okay. So we don't ever use the word you. We want to refer to the particular person And we'll talk about that in just a minute. And also in band punctuations, I don't want to see any dashes. There's no reason for dashes in formal writing. That's not the same as a hyphen because some words are hyphenated, right? Exclamation marks are just not used in formal writing. Now, I know somebody's probably thinking, oh, I used an exclamation mark in my Brave Dogs paragraph. Okay, I don't care, right? Because I didn't tell you until just now, right? But now you know. So there will be no more exclamation marks until we get to stories, which will be after Christmas.
Okay.
And then you can use them to your heart's content. Okay, but no exclamation marks because they're not appropriate for formal writing, and no parentheses. Mark Twain said, if you have to use parentheses to explain what it is you're trying to explain, then you just haven't thought hard enough yet to know how to say it without parentheses. All right. Okay. So these are banned. The dress ups are going to be new and the topic clinchers are going to be new. So first of all, let's talk about topic clinchers. Topic clinchers are what we would consider structure in writing. In this class, we're going to be talking about two parts of writing. They're kind of parallel tracks that we'll be working on as we go along. There's structure and there's style. Structure is how you arrange your writing to make it effective. Style is how you say the things that you say in order to make it interesting. You don't want to bore people to death, okay? I may have to read your papers, but other people don't have to. So if you want other people to read what you have written, you have to make it engaging, okay? And that's what style is about. So if you look on page 22, we've already talked about one kind of structure thing, and that is how we go about picking the stuff out that we want to talk about. And we do that with keyword outlining. And this is back on page 22. Okay, so we've learned keyword outlining. That's our very most important structure thing that we've learned. You've also practiced giving oral reports. How did the oral reports go? Did you all enjoy doing your oral reports?
Great. Yes.
Good. I'm so glad. I just think it's wonderful. And you might consider that if you have to give a speech in any of your classes this year, you might consider making a keyword outline so that you can actually look at your audience instead of reading off of a paper. Okay. It's great. All right. And then you've actually already practiced 2 paragraphs of writing from keyword outlines. Okay. So let's turn over to page 24 and let's talk about topic clinchers. So most people probably have heard the term topic sentence. Somebody that knows what a topic sentence is, raise your hand. And okay, John Shaw, what is a topic sentence?
Topic sentence is, well, it's exactly
without
what
reading it off. Huh?
It's right here. I'm kidding. A topic sentence is really just what it says. It's a sentence on the topic. Like,
okay,
the whole topic should be in that sentence. Everything you're saying, explaining about that topic should be in that topic sentence.
That is true. So I like to think of topic sentence as an umbrella, and everything that falls under that topic sentence is under the umbrella of the topic sentence. Okay, so for instance, and that word or words should be in the first sentence. Now, there are other topic sentences that might appear maybe a little further down than the first sentence, but all year when we do topic sentences, it's going to be the first sentence of your paragraph, okay? You just need to hit me over the head with it. I don't want anybody being subtle. I want to know that you know what a topic sentence is. So whatever the paragraph is about, that's the topic. And that word should appear in the first sentence and give your audience. See, audiences have a hard, reading audiences have a hard task ahead of them, okay? They have to make sense of thousands of little marks on a paper. And from those marks, they have to discern what it is that you're trying to tell them. All right. So they need clues. And the very most important clue that we can give people in paragraphs is the topic sentence. So they know what you're going to be talking about. So everything that happens in that paragraph ought to have something to do with that topic sentence, right? Now, you wouldn't have written a sentence about shooting stars in the Brave Dogs paragraph. That wouldn't make sense. It would be out of place, right?
You call shooting dogs fireballs.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there might have been some way to work that in there, but I don't know that there was anything about shooting stars that actually happened. So that's just a simple thing. So what was the topic of the Brave Dogs Save Lives paragraph? What was the main topic?
Brave dogs save lives.
Okay. Somebody else tell me what the topic was for the other paragraph that you did. Oh, okay, cross.
Shooting stars.
Okay, so those words, shooting stars, would need to be in there, right? So everybody probably is familiar with that. What you might not be familiar with, unless you've done IEW before, is you might not be familiar with the concept of the clincher sentence. And the clincher sentence is amazing. So what the clincher sentence does is it takes 2 or 3 strong keywords from the topic sentence and it uses them in the last sentence of the paragraph to sort of tie everything up in a nice, neat package so that your reader has a sense of that we've progressed from starting to talk about the topic and explain the topic, and you get to the end and everything is kind of wrapped up nicely, okay? The way we do that is we take 2 or 3 strong keywords. It doesn't necessarily have to be the topic words, and we intentionally use them in that last sentence, okay? Now, they don't have to be the exact words. They could just be words that reflect the topic words, such as synonyms, okay? And these are really fun to do, okay? So let's look at this example here on page 24. And for those of you who have done IEW before, who were disturbed by my title for your paper, Assignment 1, be honest, who in here was disturbed by that title? And that there were 2 unrelated paragraphs in one document. Did that bother anybody? Katie, Alina, Ryan. Okay. We'll be talking about the right way to do a title in a couple more. I just don't want to do everything at once because y'all have a lot to practice already. Okay. That's because I'm a nice teacher and I care about you. All right. So let's look at page 24 where it says topic clinchers. As we just said, a topic sentence is generally the first sentence of the paragraph. It's always the first sentence of the paragraph in this class. And it introduces the topic of the paragraph. So every sentence in the paragraph has to be related to the topic sentence. And it gives unity to the paragraph when you also write a clincher sentence. A clincher is a sentence that repeats or reflects 2 or 3 strong keywords from the topic sentence. It's not just a repeat of the topic sentence, because that would just be weird. And it would also be the B word. Does that look like a B or a D to y'all? I can't tell.
B.
Okay. It would also be boring. B is the B. The B word stands for boring. We don't want to be boring. We want the V word. And let's see, Katie and Anirudh, you've had me before as teachers. The V word stands for, do you remember? Katie, do you remember? Guess what it stands for? Somebody give it a good guess.
Victory.
Yes, it does. But in this class, the V word stands for, Katie?
Vietnamese.
Miss Kimbrell, can I just have 1 minute? The baby just knocked something down. And my
Yeah,
grandma's
just go quietly and come back as soon as you can, Katie. The V word stands for variety. Okay, we don't want the B word.
Or like
That means boring. We want the V word. That means
Vietnamese.
Variety.
variety. Okay? Variety.
Variety.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's look at this example here. If we had a topic sentence that started out with originally Native Americans populated the continent. Okay? That's our topic sentence. And then after documenting the history of the Native Americans, settlers, and immigrants, the paragraph could end with the following clincher. 200 years later, the population of North America comprises people from every continent, a multitude of nationalities and ethnic groups. Okay, I want you to look at the bold black words there in both of those sentences and tell me a word that you see that is exactly the same in that topic sentence and that clincher sentence. Somebody raise your hand. Okay, Cross.
Continent.
Okay, continent and continent, right. Okay, so y'all can circle that. Circle continent and continent.
Continent.
Okay, another word that isn't exactly the same, but it's close.
Populated.
Yes, populated and population. Notice those are not the same word, but they're close, right? All right. And then there's another set that I bolded that I think go together. Who can tell me what that is? Okay, Catalina. Oh, I've lost your sound again. Somebody else. John Shaw.
Probably Native Americans and people.
Exactly. Okay. Now those words are not, they're not even variations of each other, right? But one is a people group, and then people, of course, is just a general word, right? Okay. So the great thing about topic clinchers is they tie your paragraph together, they give unity to the paragraph, and they make you sound even smarter than you really are. All right. So now we're going to practice them. Let's look at an exercise that's on page 92. Okay. Look at page 92. Now, you're going to actually pick one of these 7 paragraphs that are, 4 of these, no, 7 paragraphs that are on pages 92 and 93 for your homework. And you're going to be keyword outlining them and writing them up and styling them up. So we're just going to sit here and figure out some topic clinchers for each of them right now. And that way you'll be able to go ahead and have that taken care of, okay? All right, so let's look at this first one, horses. Several hundred years ago, there were no horses in North America. When Cortez sailed to America, he brought horses on his boat. Some horses escaped. They were wild and free. The Indians caught them and trained them. Horses could run faster than the buffalo. The horse became very important to Indians, cowboys, and settlers. Now, I'm just giving you a little clue word here for coming up with a topic clincher. What are some good strong words that we might use from several hundred years ago? There were no horses in North America.
No horses.
Okay. Horses, definitely, right? Circle horses. Okay, what's another set of important words there that we might want to possibly use in our clincher?
North America.
Okay, North America. Is that what you were going to say, Cross? Okay. Now, I think now reflects back to several hundred years ago. Those are kind of opposites, right?
Yes.
One is a long time ago. The other one is present day, right? But I'm going to circle now and several hundred years ago as going together. Now, this would be weird. What if we said they were wild and free, the Indians caught them and trained them, horses could run faster than the buffalo, the horse became very important to Indians, cowboys, and settlers, but several hundred years ago, there were no horses in North America.
Oh, no. I didn't.
That is
What
what?
would that be for a clincher? It's got a lot of the same words. In fact, it's got almost all the same words.
Well, yeah, we were just saying the same exact thing.
Yeah. So this is a history paragraph. It starts in one place in history, right?
That's why we go back.
And it moves along, right? It wouldn't make sense to just stick that same old sentence right on the end, would it?
You hit the brakes and made a U-turn.
Right. That would be kind of silly. So we've got several hundred years ago and we've got now. We've got horses and we've got North America. So what could we say? What might be a good clincher to write there that we could use that would make sense and sort of tie that paragraph up? Cross.
Now there are lots of horses in North America.
Okay, that could be one of them. Anybody else got an idea? Y'all just chime in. Catalina, I
Instead
hope we
of
can get your...
now, could we do everywhere? So
You could. Hold on just a second. Catalina was raising her hand. Go ahead, Catalina.
Can you hear me this time?
Mm-hmm.
You could say now horses are very common in North America.
Yeah, that's a good one. Horses are very common in North America. Okay, John Shaw had an idea. John Shaw?
well, Cross said lots. I was just thinking we could place lots with like everywhere or something.
Okay, that would be great because actually next time we come, we'll be banning the word lots of. But we're not going to worry about that because we're not banning. we're not banning them right now. Okay, but
Okay.
all right. Okay. Anybody else got an idea? I hear somebody thinking. Who is that? Okay. What about now? Horses are common and plentiful in many different aspects of American life. Would that be okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's never just one clincher that you can write. Okay. A lot of it has to do with individual preference. It has to do with your thinking about the subject. All right. I want you to know there's just not one clincher that is appropriate for every situation. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So pick something to write there now, you guys. Okay. So
Well,
the
not
horses
yours.
are important to Indians, cowboys, and settlers now, or you could say at this present time, or today, or you don't even have to use the word now. Yes, Katie.
Where are we?
We're working on the clincher for horses on page 92. All right.
Thank you.
Somebody jot that. Everybody jot something down for your clincher. And let's do the next one. There are billions of stars in the sky. They can be red, white, or blue. They make patterns in the sky, which are called constellations. The Big Dipper is one of them. It is easy to find. Stars are actually huge, even though they look tiny. Our sun is one of the stars in the sky. Scientists who study them are called astronomers. All right, what's a word that keeps jumping out that maybe they could just use it a little bit less in these sentences?
Stars.
Sun.
Yeah, it really isn't necessary, even though the topic is stars,
And in the sky.
to just beat your audience over the head with it, right?
They also use in the sky a lot. In the sky.
Okay.
In the sky.
Right. Yeah. And I'm hoping when y'all make your keyword outlines that you try to get away from all the words that are in the sentence. Okay.
Okay.
Because it isn't necessary to keep saying in the sky, stars, 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 stars. We could come up with a different word for stars, like
Whenever,
Bright twinkly things.
right.
or
Okay. All right. So here's a clincher. What are some important words in the first sentence? There are billions of stars in the sky.
Stars.
Stars.
In
Okay.
the sky.
In the sky.
Billions.
Billions. Okay. Now I think we took care of the billions with the little thing that I put there, although we cannot count the stars. So that sort of takes care of billions, right? I would
Yeah.
consider that a set of clincher words myself, right?
Mhm.
Although we cannot count the stars, what else could we say?
We can see them. I don't know.
Oh, Haley.
Although we although we cannot count the stars, there are still numerous and vast galaxies full of them.
Oh, I love that. Although we cannot count the stars, there are numerous and vast galaxies full of them. That's great. I love that.
I have a question.
Yes.
Why can't we count the stars?
Well,
You
we
just
can't
get a
see all of
computer
them.
to do it.
We can't see. Okay. Well, don't allow yourself to be drug off track either in your clincher, right?
I'm sorry, I was just confused. Okay.
Okay. Also, we could kind of get rid of that word stars. What are some words that we could use for in place? But John Shaw said something about twinkly things. What are stars
Right.
actually? Some of you know this. What are stars?
The
Balls of
shiny.
gas and fire.
Huh? What did you- Okay, so I'll give you some ideas that some students have had. I heard John Shaw say something about fire. They're burning globes of gas
Yeah.
of some sort, right?
Well, technically not all.
Fireballs.
You could also be poetic and say something like twinkling diamonds on black velvet.
Sorry.
Or you could say, come on, y'all. Some of y'all have some ideas. I love the galaxy thing, Haley. Galaxies.
Giant balls of gas that could kill you.
Okay. Except you wouldn't want to use the word you, right?
Giant balls of gas that make you dead.
Okay. All right.
I don't
So
know.
let's
I
come
really
up
don't
with
know.
okay. So Haley said, although we cannot count the stars, the universe is I can't remember exactly what you said, Haley. What was it you said?
There are still numerous and vast galaxies full of them.
Super. Okay. Somebody else give us somebody that really hasn't said much today. Give us a idea there of how you could finish that off. There's no one right answer, people.
You could. I know I've talked a lot, but I said something that was dumb, so I want to say something serious now. You could say, although we cannot count the stars, we can certainly see the heavenly bodies, the giant gas planets, and the planets, or something along those lines.
Okay, that's
Just a
great.
list of planets.
Now, what I want y'all to do is I want you to take your handy writing implement and I want you to put a not sign on over we. Because remember, I talked about banned words and how we can't talk about ourselves.
Yes.
We could say people, or we could say scientists, or we could say, you decide. All right.
What was the not sign again? Was it a
The not
circle?
sign is a circle with a slash through it. So slash out that we there. Okay. So everybody jot down something to finish that sentence off that could be a clincher. Okay. Now, would a clincher definitely have to start with, although people cannot count the stars? No. I just gave people a clue because sometimes when we first start doing this, it seems hard. But if you have some other way of starting your clincher, that's perfectly fine. Okay. All right. The ear. The ear is an important, I want you to find the illegal words. There's 2 of them in this paragraph, and we're going to put a not sign over them because I don't want them showing up in your paragraph if you write about the ear. The ear is an important organ. Primarily, it helps you keep your balance. It also transmits sounds to the brain. First, sound waves enter the outer ear. The sound waves make the eardrums vibrate. This causes 3 small bones to vibrate. The vibration is passed on to the inner ear. A large nerve transports the vibratory message to the brain. All this takes only a split second. The brain learns the meaning of all the different sounds. Clearly, the ear, blah, 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 blah. All right. Raise your hand if you notice the illegal words. Okay. Ryan Hampson. What was
You
it?
and your.
Yes. Put a not sign, a circle with a slash over you. What could we say instead of you and your? We can
That.
actually use the word that it's actually talking about. Ryan Dupree.
Primarily, it helps people keep their balance.
Great. That's a great substitute. Primarily, it helps people keep their balance. So one way you can get rid of the word you is to talk about the specific person or people that the sentence is actually discussing, right? That's one way to get rid of it. Okay. And why do we want to get rid of you? Why is it so terrible?
Because you said so.
Banned.
Yes,
Banned.
but why?
It's boring. Banned.
And
Yeah. Well, it really doesn't explain exactly who it is you're talking about. Like if you were an alien and you didn't have ears and they said it helps you keep your balance, would you know who they were talking about?
nope.
No.
Have you ever met an alien to ask?
I don't know if the alien would care. Okay, now here's, okay, so clearly the ear, what? How could we wrap this paragraph up?
Is one of
Katie.
Clearly, the ear is a vital part of the body.
That is wonderful. Cross.
Clearly, the ear is a very important organ of the body.
Super. John Shaw.
Clearly, the ear is one of, if not the most important, of the five senses.
Okay, great. Anirudh.
Clearly, the ear is the most important tool in our body system.
Super. Okay. All right. Good job. Y'all are getting the picture here. Okay. Now here, number 4 is actually eggplant. This is what we call satire. What?
Do we write what we said down?
Yeah. Jot down a sentence there.
Okay.
Jot down some kind of clincher sentence. Because when you go back to do your homework, I don't want it to be, I want you to remember how you go about doing this. Okay. All right. Eggplant. Now this is satire, okay? Who in here likes eggplant? Okay. All right. Well, actually, I had one girl who got highly offended by this paragraph in class the year that we first read it. And she said that it wasn't true that eggplant was a terrible vegetable. Because her father deep fried eggplants. And then they would eat them dipped in ranch dressing, and they were very good. And then she wrote a paragraph. She wrote a rebuttal to this paragraph, which I will share with you next week because I don't want to poison your brains right now. Okay. She used all the same facts, but she gave them a positive spin. And Andrew Pudewa himself actually read her paragraph on one of his webinars. He wrote this paragraph.
Who that is, but okay.
He's the one who came up with this paragraph, and he's the one who is the director of IEW. And he wrote this eggplant paragraph, and he read it, and he said, "My goodness, she makes me think that maybe I should try eggplant again." It was a very persuasive paragraph, and I'll share it with you next time. Okay, eggplant. The eggplant is the most disgusting of unpopular vegetables. It is dark purple in color and tastes like sawdust. It has virtually no vitamins or nutrients. The eggplant grows only in the worst parts of the world. It takes 120 days of unbearably hot weather to ripen an eggplant. Ignorant people here grow them in greenhouses. Foolish cooks use them in salads and other foul dishes. Its appalling texture and revolting taste make it a rarely used vegetable. It is no wonder that
there are clinically insane people in the world. Because, I mean, if it's that bad, I mean, it's got to cause one or two people to tip off the eggs.
Okay, Ryan Dupree.
It is the grossest vegetable ever.
It is clearly the egg. It is no wonder that the eggplant is the grossest vegetable ever. Okay. Any other commentary on eggplant? Katie.
It is no wonder that the eggplant is the most despised vegetable in the world.
Okay, that would make sense after all that other stuff, wouldn't it? Anirudh.
It's no wonder that some people do not like eggplant.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay, now for those of you who do like eggplant, if you choose to write the eggplant paragraph, you can do what Katie did. I'll tell you one of her sentences, which was a sentence about ignorant people here grow them in greenhouses. Her sentence was, an eggplant can be grown in the United States in a greenhouse, and it will be just as happy as if it were grown in China.
You don't grow eggplants in China.
She explains earlier that one of the largest producers of eggplants is China.
Oh,
I guess a really hot part of China. Okay.
Okay.
So I will share. So she used the same facts, but she twisted them. Yes, and her mother emailed me. This was the funny part. Her mother emailed me and said, Katie is writing a rebuttal to the eggplant paragraph. I don't know if that's all right. Is it okay? I said, yes, please. That would be wonderful. Yes, John Shaw.
So I could write something to reinforce that the eggplant is the worst vegetable ever.
You could.
Ooh.
Okay. All right.
Ooh.
Yes, this is why we put down the main points that were in the paragraph, but we don't want to say them like the person said them, right? We want to say them like who?
Us.
Owls.
Katie totally disagreed. This is a different Katie, not Katie in our class.
I can't believe.
She totally disagreed with this paragraph about eggplant. She was highly insulted. So, and she was
insulted for the eggplant.
She was a funny girl anyway. So you will enjoy her paragraph when I read it to you next time. All right. If you look at the Scottish Highlanders and Wild Warriors and paragraph, those really are two sort of very similar. I mean, they're both about the Scottish people that came to Georgia. And indigenous people, that's how you say that word, about the native tribes that were originally in Georgia when the settlers first came here. Okay, now I'm not going to take the time to do that because we need to move on to the fun part of writing.
There is no
which is style. John Shaw, I have a feeling that you will really get into style.
Why?
I have a feeling.
You see me like walk up to my mirror like, yeah, this is
it's because of the language that you use. I just get this feeling that you are going to actually like style, and all of you should like it because it's really fun. This is my favorite part. I love style. Okay,
here,
so
I'll give you a word that you gave me. That's balderdash.
I love that word, balderdash. Is that not just the greatest word? That means utter nonsense. Okay. All right. Let's look at page 51 and let's talk about style. Okay. Now I mentioned Andrew Pudewa a few minutes ago. Andrew Pudewa didn't really invent IEW. He learned it from Dr. J.B. Webster in a workshop in Canada. And Dr. J.B. Webster had learned it he was a college professor, and he had actually learned it from his aunt, Anna Ingham, who was actually an elementary school teacher. She created it to help her students learn to write. And when Dr. Webster started teaching African history at the college level, he realized that college students couldn't write. And this was a long time ago at Dalhousie University. And he knew that if you couldn't write, you really couldn't learn history. So he started teaching the college students, just minute cross, how to write using the elementary school method that his aunt had taught him. And he became very popular at the college because people started going, oh, you want to learn to write? Go take Dr. Webster's African history class and he will teach you how to write. And then later he started teaching workshops, and Andrew Pudewa went to one of them, and Andrew Pudewa learned how to do this. And so then he finally got Dr. Webster's permission to teach it in the United States, and that's where IEW came from. So here's the man that's responsible for all your woes and you having to learn IEW. Okay, Cross, did you have a question?
I see my mortal enemy.
Which page do we go to?
Turn to page 51. So this is Andrew Pudewa. And what Andrew says about style is not what you say.
How you say it.
It's how you say it.
My mortal enemy has finally shown his face.
How you say things can make all the difference, right? Okay, so turn the page and you'll see a few things we already talked about for style.
What page is this?
Turn to page 52. Avoiding repeated words, like remember when I said don't do star, 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 ear, 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 ear. Oh, that's another thing. Usually when people write about the ear, the word ear shows up a gazillion times. And the word star shows up. Well, you can use synonyms. You can use, I mean, I'm not going to ding you if you do, but if you read over your stuff out loud, sometimes these words will jump out at you and you'll go, man, I used that 10 times. I think I should find something else.
Organism implanted on the side of your skull.
Right. Okay. The other thing is avoiding I, because we don't ever talk about ourselves in formal writing. And the other thing is avoiding the indefinite you. All right. And that means using you. It helps you keep your balance, right? And so it helps people keep their balance. You talk about the specific person or people that you're really referring to. So y'all read over that. It's in your reading list. Don't ever skip reading over the pages, even if you think you already remember what we talked about, because it takes a number of times of you hearing the same thing over and over for it to really stick in your brain. All right. So when I say read these pages, always make sure you read them. Okay. Yes, Mrs. Kimbrell, they cried. All right. Okay. Another thing is avoiding stage directions. We'll talk about this as we go, but don't ever talk about your writing. Like sometimes people will want to say something like, this report is about blah, 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 blah. Don't talk about your writing. Just say it. Okay. And if you want to try not to be boring, try not to use the word there as a sentence opener. It automatically slows a sentence down and makes it boring. But we'll talk about that some more later. Okay, let's look at page 54. Let's talk about dress ups. Dress ups are words that we can actually add to our sentences to make them more clear, energetic, make them communicate better. Okay. And so, remember when you first started reading how the sentences were really short and to the point? When I was growing up, we had Dick and Jane. Dick and Jane. See Spot run. Run, Spot, run. Spot is running. Things like that, okay? That's fine when you're first learning to read because reading is hard. And you need to read short sentences. But when you get older and you write like that, that's really boring, okay? So dress ups, for one thing, are made to make the sentences more complex. And for another thing, they're made so that the sentences will be more interesting. Okay. So let's look at our very first dress up. Our very first dress up is called the who which clause. To me, this is of the three we're going to talk about today. This is one of the more difficult ones. I think we'll talk about the ly and strong verb first, and then we'll talk about who which. Okay. Look at number 2 on page 54, the ly adverb. Now, some of y'all are probably into grammar. What is an adverb? You grammar people. Catalina.
It describes a verb.
Yes, it does. It describes. It can describe a verb, and it can even. It can also describe an adjective sometimes, or even another adverb. But generally, we think about adverbs describing a verb, describing how something is done. A verb is either an action word or a state of being, right? And so here's a good example, a good practice sentence. John ate. How did John eat? John ate ravenously. See that ly on the end?
Yes.
Anne spoke in a trembling voice. When did Anne speak? Anne finally spoke in a trembling voice. Notice that I've bolded the words and I've underlined it in bold. And when you put in an ly in each of your paragraphs, you can use as many of them as you want, but I'm only going to want you to mark one per paragraph. I'll want one good ly adverb marked with a bold and an underline. Okay, now here's a way you can check to make sure your ly word is actually an adverb instead of an adjective by testing it in this sentence. I somethingly ate. I blankly ate. Okay, now, we already saw that word ravenously, right? So ravenously, I ravenously ate. Now, in this handbook, I have lots of word lists. They're so much fun. They're in the style section. And this particular set of words is on page 64 and 65. So just keep your finger there on page, on the style page there. And turn with me to page 64. Page 64.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah, there's all kinds of ly words. So you're not limited to just quickly. Like when you use an ly word, try to pick one that really says what it is you're trying to explain, because this wouldn't make any sense, would it? The Egyptians quickly built the pyramids. That doesn't make any sense, right? It's an ly word, all right, but does it go with that whole idea?
No, because it took them like years.
Oh yeah, decades.
Like 70, I think.
Yes. So that make sure that when you pick an ly word, it really says what you are trying to communicate. That's the point of style. It's not just so Mrs. Kimbrell can make your life more difficult, okay? It's so that you can actually communicate clearly. Okay, so I want everybody to pick out an ly word and let's put it in this sentence. I blankly ate. I'll go first. I heartily ate.
Well, I was gonna do wholeheartedly, so you like took mine because now everybody's gonna be like, I just
wholeheartedly. Ah, rats. Katie.
I frantically ate.
Okay, Anirudh.
I immediately ate.
Super. John Shaw.
lazily. I lazily ate.
I've seen that kind of thing before. Let's see. Everybody needs to do one. Ryan Dupree.
I ravenously ate.
Oh. Now, wasn't that actually the one that was in the...
That's
the one that was in our example. Pick another one.
I hungrily ate.
Oh, okay. Good. Cross.
I eagerly ate.
Oh, yeah. Catalina. Oh, I saw your hand up. Okay.
I was gonna say eagerly.
Oh, okay. Can you pick another one? Okay, Jacob.
I anxiously ate.
Okay. Let's see. Who hasn't done one yet? Cooper.
I lavishly ate.
That is awesome. I love that. Who hasn't done one yet?
Oh, yes.
Ryan Hampson.
Knife.
I happily ate.
Happily, yes. Okay. All right. Catalina, did you pick another one?
I joyfully ate.
Okay. Has everybody done one? Haley, did you do one? Okay. Go ahead.
I viciously ate.
Did a picture pop into your mind when you heard that? Abby said eagerly ate. Okay, good job, Abby. Okay, Cooper.
I have another one. I miserably ate.
I guess there's something you didn't like. Okay, John Shaw, one more, and then we got to move on.
I instantaneously ate.
Oh, yes. Okay. So when you say these things, all these different words that people gave, didn't something pop into your head? Yeah, that's what a good word will do. Okay. It will give you a strong image or impression in your mind. Okay. Did everybody do one? Everybody? Okay. Okay. Now let's talk about strong verbs, and then we're going to go back and do the who, which. Okay. So strong verbs on page on page 55. Here's something that Dr. J.B. Webster, the second generation IEW master, said. Good writing comes from powerful verbs, not from adjectives. Okay, a verb a verb is an action word or a state of being verb. So when we're talking about strong verbs, we're never talking about state of being verbs. Sometimes you have to use a state of being verb: to be, to grow, to feel, to become. Sometimes that's all that we'll do. But when you can use an action verb, a really great one, that's always superior. Okay, John Shaw, did you have a question?
Yeah. Have you ever heard the verb rap?
No, but I would love for you to share that with me after class, okay?
Okay, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I would like to hear that. Okay. So
I'll go find it
that's
after class.
so the reason we ban some verbs is because they're cheap. They can be used to mean 100 or 1,000 different things. So they're not very useful if you're really trying to explain something to somebody, right?
Nope.
If you really want people to know exactly what you're talking about, you've got to use exactly the right verb to give them the right image and impression. Okay. So that's why we're banning go, went, come, and came, say, or said. Remember this: said is dead. Say it with me. Said is dead. Okay. And somebody will often say, well, so-and-so is a great writer and he uses said all the time. Well, when you're a great writer, you can use said too. By then you'll know when it's okay. Okay. But for now, no. See or look, and I'll show you some words and you'll understand why you cannot use said or use these weak words to mean almost nothing. If a word can be used to mean almost anything, then when you're writing it and people can't see your face and hear your tone of voice and see your expressions, your body, your gestures, they miss a lot of what you're trying to say. It varies between researcher to researcher, but at least 50%, if not closer to 90% of what you say is carried by body language. Body language includes your face. It includes your tone of voice. It includes your gestures and your body position. So when you're writing, all of that is gone. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The only meaning that your reader is going to get is from the words that you choose.
There's this funny thing.
Wait just a minute. We've got to keep moving here because we're almost out of time. Okay?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I want you to make sure you share that rap thing with me. Okay?
I have it pulled up.
So what you want to do is try to pick a word that gives your reader exactly the meaning that you mean. Now, let me show you. We've got lots of lists for these banned words on page 67 through 71. So flip with me over to page 67. Page 67. And one year I had a guy who he did the class of service by the entire year. When I would say a page number, he would type it in chat and it would pop up so everybody could see it. So if anybody is so inclined to do that, that's fine. We're on page 67 though, right now. So for instance, see and look. The reason why see and look don't work very well for a verb if you're trying to communicate with your audience is because it can have a lot of different meanings. Look at all those different things. It can mean to look at or to see something. It can mean to look for something. It can mean to watch something. It can mean to look into something. It can mean to go to see something. It can mean to understand something, or it can mean to even visualize it in your mind. Okay? So if you just say, I see, and you write that.
I see skies of blue.
Is any of your Yeah, I love that song. Is your reader going to know if you go, Now, if I say to you, I see, that probably means I understand what you're saying, right? But if I write, I see, your reader has no idea. What are they looking at? They don't know what you mean. That's just why it's
Well,
so
they know
easy.
you're blind.
Well, it's why it's so easy to get into misunderstandings with people through text or emails even, or, that happens all the time. Y'all are all kind of young, so I don't know if it's happened to you yet, but it's very easy because your reader doesn't know your tone of voice. They might think you're being a smarty pants. They might think you're being sarcastic. They might think you're being rude. They might think all kinds of things. It's very hard to write clearly. Okay.
That's why I like voice chat better. You can just go on there and it's like so much easier because then you never mess up.
Right. Now look at the bottom. Here's some replacements for the words like and love. You turn the page over and we've got replacements for go, went, come, and came. And these are kind of in sections here. This sort of like this little first section, bounce, bound, burst, and spring. Amble, maneuver, meander, mosey, saunter, stroll, wander. All these words have different ideas. Now, if I just say, Jacob came into the room.
Nope.
Do we have any idea how he came into the room?
Through the ceiling.
I mean, I don't know. Let's see. Let's decide how Jacob came into the room. Let's everybody pick a way that Jacob came into the room. I'm going to pick Jacob bolted into the room. Okay, Haley?
He plummeted into the room.
Yeah, the ceiling must have fallen out. Okay, Ryan Dupree.
Jacob strolled into the room.
Okay. Are y'all getting pictures in your head for these words?
Jacob
Okay, Anirudh.
Swamp, excuse me. Sorry.
Jacob stomped into the room.
Okay, gives me a definite picture. Catalina.
Jacob stormed into the room.
Okay, Katie.
Jacob glided into the room.
Glided. Okay, Jacob shuffled into the room. That's from Abby. Okay, sorry, Jacob. I hope you don't mind us using you as an example here. Cross.
Jacob danced into the room.
You dance, Jacob? No?
The best thing is when you can imagine Jacob coming into the room dancing and then going out and then diving into the room and then going back out and then coming back into the room and then going back out of the room.
And in my local classes, I let students, I send somebody out into the hallway and let them come into the room according to how students tell them to come in. John Shaw?
Jacob swan dived into the room. I want to see somebody do that.
Okay, let's see. Cooper, did you have your hand up?
No, but I do have one.
Okay.
Jacob soared into the room.
Okay.
Jacob, where are you buying all these paragliders?
Cross.
Jacob plunged into the room.
Some of these things sound very painful. Ryan Hampson, did you say anything yet?
No, I was going to say that he floated into the room.
Yours is so much better than ours. Swan dive breaks.
So what I want y'all to get, what I want y'all to get from this is, when you use a strong verb, people know what you're trying to communicate to them. Okay.
Yes,
Some of them, I hope you're not hurt too badly, Jacob. Some of these were very dangerous kinds of things people were seeing you do. Okay. Has everybody had a time? Cooper.
I just found another word. Jacob into the room.
I'm sorry, you cut out there. Jacob what?
Ascended.
You must have been in a basement, or maybe it was an orchestra pit, like, you'd have to ascend from an orchestra pit. Okay. All right. Lots of fun. All right. So this is why we want to use strong verbs. And on that day, Jacob went home with 32 broken bones, 53 fractured bones, and 3 major concussions. Sorry, Jacob. We're sorry. Okay. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about strong verbs. Okay. Verbs are some, I told y'all this was fun, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. See? You can find something to like in writing, even if you don't really like writing. And strong verbs are one of them. Okay, now let's turn back and do, we've only got 5 minutes. Let's do the who, which clause on page 54. Okay. And so the who, which, what's the difference between a clause and a phrase? Does anybody know what I mean when I say a clause? Okay, Catalina, what's the difference?
A clause has a subject and a verb. And a phrase doesn't. Right.
A phrase will have a noun in it, but it won't have a verb. So some words can be used either as a clause, in a clause, or in a phrase. But if it's going to be a clause, it's got to have a subject and a verb. Okay. The thing about a who, which clause is we call that a dependent clause, and they can never stand alone. Okay. They've always got to be part of a sentence that explains it. So if I say, who is from Genoa, Italy?
Jacob.
Now, if I just walk up to you and I go, who was from Genoa, Italy?
Yeah, I answered Jacob.
Oh, would you know who I was talking about?
Jacob.
No.
Okay, here's a historical person. Columbus, who was from Genoa, Italy, sailed across the ocean blue in 1492.
Oh,
right? So I can't just make a sentence with a who clause, okay? Even though it does have a verb in it, was, all right? It can't be by itself. And sometimes people will write fragments because they won't have the whole sentence there. That's one thing that makes who, which clauses kind of tricky. So let's look at writing a who, which clause. There are 2 ways to use one. If we're looking back on page 54 again, one is to combine 2 short sentences into a longer one by using a who or a which. And another one is to add detail to a sentence by using a who or a which. Now, we use who for people. We use which for everything else. Okay? We use who for
people.
Everybody say it. We use who for
People.
We use which for
Things.
everything else. Okay? Unless, there's always an unless, isn't there, in grammar? Unless the thing that isn't a person actually is personified. Like here we have a sentence about a lion from Aesop's fable, which the characters are all animals usually, but they all act like people, right? So also, if you name an animal, automatically you have to use who. I had a little dog named Pippin. He's gone now, but it wouldn't make sense to say Pippin, which was chasing the cat all day, was tired and hungry. You'd have to say who, because I gave the dog a name, right? Pippin, who was chasing somehow just giving something a name automatically gives it human qualities, and you have to use who. But normally we use who for
Person.
Persons.
and which for
Everything.
everything else. Okay, so here's an example. The lion, this is Aesop's fable. The lion felt he would never be able to disentangle himself from the hunter's net. He was most grateful for the appearance of the little mouse. Some of y'all have probably heard that fable before. Now, if you want to put those 2 together, you can put it together with the who, because these are like talking animals and stuff. The lion, who felt he would never be able to disentangle himself from the hunter's net, was most grateful for the little mouse. Or you can use a who or a which to add information to a sentence. The yellow-bellied sapsucker destroys young trees by removing sap from the branches. So what if I want to explain a little bit more? I could put it in there with a which this way. The yellow-bellied sapsucker, which is native to Canada and the northern United States, destroys young trees by removing sap from the branches. Okay, let's just do a couple of exercises for the who or the which, and then I'll show y'all what you're doing for homework, and then I'll let you go. Look on page 98. We're going to do the easy ones, and we'll worry about the hard ones later.
There's
98.
nothing easy in grammar.
This is easy. You're going to say it's easy, John Shaw. You're going to say it. Look at the last two at the bottom of page 98. We're going to make a who, which clause in these two sentences by adding some extra information. Okay. Okay. The settlers began clearing the land. Now say, oh, I don't have a who, which clause in my paper yet. I need one. So I'm going to put one in this sentence. The settlers, there's a noun, and the easiest way is to find the noun and then put the who or which clause after it. The settlers who blah, 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 and clearing
So
the
it could
land.
be anything, right?
Yeah.
Okay, who were led by their ferocious leader Jacob began clearing the land.
Pick on somebody else.
Okay, the settlers who began. Oh, wait, no. The settlers who followed their ferocious leader Haley began clearing the land.
Hey,
You said pick on
Okay,
somebody else.
there you go. All
Well,
right. Does anybody else have anything they want to? Can anybody else give us another sentence? That's great. Let's see. Somebody else. So y'all probably know about settlers and clearing land and stuff like that. Some of you do.
Ross is raising his hand.
Oh, Cross. Go ahead.
The settlers who were from England were clearing land.
Good. Okay. Now that's one way you can do a who, which. We'll do the harder ones later. Okay. The other way is to, yes. And here's another one. The students groaned. Everybody should be able to get this one.
Yeah.
John Shaw, go. The students who
carried Jacob. Destroyed body grow.
Okay. Somebody else give us one. Haley.
the students who were miserably and obviously tired groaned.
Okay. See, makes so much sense. Cross.
The students who had homework groaned.
Yeah, very realistic. Anirudh.
The students who did not want to do math groaned.
Yeah, that would be me. Ryan, I
anybody wants to do
understand.
math.
Ryan, I think Ryan's mom said he really likes, Ryan Hampson, you really like science and math. Is that right, Ryan? Okay. Or you prefer it or something. Somebody tell me that. Okay, Ryan Dupree.
That's me. I like
Oh,
science.
Ryan Dupree. Okay.
I prefer science and math over English, but that could be because I just don't like English.
Well, you might find out that you do. I had a guy in class one year that sort of looked like you, John Shaw, and he spent the whole year talking in an English voice like he was in a Shakespeare play.
Oh yes, so I should talk like I'm in a Shakespeare.
No, he really liked language, so maybe I'm sort of projecting that onto you.
Oh Jacob, what happened to that body?
Okay, so let's look. Okay, take your whatever it is you're using to mark your pages, move your marker over to page 199 because that's your new assignment page. Okay. And I'm going to show you, and you will look at it throughout the week. If you look at page 122, you'll see that you're marking your dress ups. On page 122, you'll notice how you mark your dress ups. It's in bold, underlined. Because when I'm reading your homework, I read all the way through for topic clinchers and stuff like that. And then I go back again and I look for your style stuff. And if they're not clearly marked, it takes me a long time. And I don't want to take a long time with grading because my goal is to get through when I'm grading, right? Okay. So if you look at page 122, you'll see some dark, bold words with dark underlines, and you can have 15 LY words in a paragraph if you like, but how many should be marked?
One.
One per paragraph. You must have one who, which in each paragraph. You must have one LY adverb per paragraph, and you must have one strong verb per paragraph. But really, I hope all of your verbs are strong verbs. Remember, we don't want Jacob to just come into the room. We want Jacob to plummet.
Ascend to godhood.
Stomp into the room.
Right, exactly. So
Curse us
your
all.
verbs.
Curse us all from the grave.
Make all of your verbs strong if you can, but how many strong verbs should be underlined and bolded in your paragraph?
One.
One. Count them. One per paragraph. Per paragraph, okay? And all of your paragraphs are going to be on the same document, just like it was the last time, even if you do the ear, eggplant, and indigenous people. They're still, I know they don't go together, y'all, but it's going to be less confusing than the way I've done it in the past. Trust me, okay? Now this checklist on the back, you do not have to have your mom sign it, but you need to still be going to your editor, just like you did last time, taking your paragraphs and doing your oral reports like it says, when it says, and please don't do that at 11 o'clock at night, all right? Unless your mom is a night owl and she wants to do that at 11 o'clock at night, okay? There are some night owl people out there, all right? All right. Any questions before we go? I'm sure questions are going to come up when you start working on your assignment. And what should you do when you have a question? Cross.
Miss.
So when we label the ly adverbs, should we just write on like ly in the left margin or not?
That's an IEW thing, and that is it just clutters up the paper. So yes, I know a lot of teachers want that. If you've done IEW with somebody else and they've had you writing what the dress up is, when you underline the dress up, I actually read all of those and I will find them. Only if they're marked though. And if they don't get marked, then I don't count them. And you lose a point for that, okay? But if you mark them with your bold and your underline, I will find them.